quiet station piano, the train station, was always busy. Full of people going somewhere fast, footsteps echoed across the floor. Voices blended with the sound of arriving and departing trains. Everyone had somewhere to be, something to do, and no time to notice the old piano sitting near the far wall. It had been there for years, open to the public, but most people ignored it. Sometimes a child would bang the keys or a tourist would try a few notes, but real music. That was rare. One rainy evening, the sky outside was a dull gray, and the floor inside was wet from shoes tracking in the cold. A few people stood quietly, waiting for the 6:45 train, staring at their phones or sipping warm coffee. Then without warning, someone sat at the piano. No one saw her arrive, but there she was. She looked like she didn't belong, wearing a long, dark coat that brushed the ground. Her silver hair was tied back loosely, and her face was calm, focused. She didn't look around, didn't ask permission, didn't even glance at the people nearby. She placed her hands gently on the keys and began to play. The first few notes were soft, so soft, some didn't hear them at first, but the melody slowly rose like mist over still water. It was beautiful, but not in the usual way. There was something different in the sound, something that felt personal and deep. Within moments, people started to look up, heads turned, conversations stopped. Even the station announcements seemed quieter somehow. The music filled the space, wrapping around everyone like a warm blanket. It didn't feel like she was performing, though. It felt like she was remembering something, or maybe helping others remember something they had forgotten. A man dropped his coffee without realizing it. A young woman stopped texting and just stared, tears forming in her eyes. Even the security guard near the exit froze, hand halfway to his radio. No one knew the song. It wasn't a famous piece. Not from any movie, not from any concert, but it felt familiar. Like a dream you almost remembered when you woke up. People tried to hum along, but the tune twisted in ways they couldn't follow. It was soft and sad, but not heavy gentle, like the way someone might speak to an old friend they never expected to see again. The woman's hands moved with ease, like they weren't following sheet music, but something deeper. Her eyes stayed closed. And for a few minutes, the station didn't feel like a station anymore. It felt like a memory, shared by strangers. And then, just as suddenly, she stopped. The final note hung in the air for a moment before fading away. No one clapped, no one spoke. She stood, turned slowly, and walked away without a word. Not fast. Not slow, just steady, like someone who had done what they came to do. People looked at each other, confused, moved, unsure what had just happened. A few tried to record it on their phones, but later they would find the sound was missing or distorted. It was like the song didn't want to be remembered by machines, only by the people who were there. Someone ran after her, hoping to ask her name. But by the time they reached the street outside, she was gone, as if she had disappeared into the rain. Back inside, people stood quietly by the piano. Still feeling the echo of the music, one woman whispered, "What was that song?" But no one could answer. They tried to hum it again, but the melody slipped away like water through fingers. It was there and then it wasn't. In the days that followed, people kept talking about the mysterious woman and her song. Some returned to the station at the same time, hoping she might come back. Others tried to describe the tune to musicians, but no one could recreate it. It became a kind of quiet legend, the song no one could remember. Only the feeling stayed, and that feeling of peace, sadness, and something unspoken left them. Even the piano seemed different afterward. People started noticing it more, respecting it, but no one played it, not because they were afraid, because it felt like something sacred had happened, and they didn't want to break the silence she left behind. The song that slipped away. By the next morning, the train station looked the same. Same floor, same coffee smell, same crowd rushing in and out. But for the ones who had been there the night before, something felt different. They kept thinking about the music, not the notes, not the rhythm, but the feeling. A strange, deep ache that stayed behind like perfume on an old scarf. People tried to talk about her tat work on trains, even over dinner. She played something. I don't know. It made me feel things I haven't felt in years. One woman said she remembered her childhood just for a moment. A man claimed it reminded him of someone he had lost, though he couldn't say who. no one could agree on what. The song sounded like, some said it was sad, some said it was peaceful. One man even said, it was like hearing forgiveness, but when they tried to hum it, nothing came out right. They would start, pause, frown, and then go quiet. It was like trying to speak in a dream. You knew what you wanted to say, but your mouth wouldn't work. Videos taken at the station were strange too. Some were completely silent, even though the piano could be seen being played. Others had static noise or warped audio, like the sound didn't want to be recorded. One phone played back with random clicking sounds, no music at all. It was almost as if the song didn't exist, at least not in the usual way. A music teacher visited the station that day. Curious after seeing one of the videos online, she sat at the same piano and tried to play something similar, but every tune she played felt wrong, off, incomplete. She said softly to no one, it wasn't music, it was something else, something in between sound and silence. Meanwhile, people kept showing up at the station, not to catch a train, but to sit on the nearby benches, waiting. Some brought notebooks, hoping to write down even a piece of the song if it returned. A few brought violins, flutes, guitars, trying to pull the melody out of the air.
Oh.
But it never came. Something strange began to happen, though. Many who had been there that night reported vivid dreams in the days that followed, dreams of standing in fog, dreams of a woman at a piano in the middle of a forest, dreams where they heard music, but could never remember it upon waking. Some even claimed the dreams felt more like memories than sleep. One man shared a post online, I think she wasn't playing for us. She was playing to unlock something inside us. That's why we can't. Remember, it wasn't hers, it was ours. The post went viral, soon. The mysterious piano woman became a topic across forums, social media pages, and video channels. Everyone had a theory. She's a ghost. She's from another time. She played the song of the soul. But no one could prove anything. People kept searching for her. Train station staff were questioned. Security footage was reviewed, but the footage showed something odd, no clear shot of her face. In every frame, her head was slightly turned, or a glare blurred the image. It was as if even the cameras couldn't fully hold her. Still, people returned, again and again. They didn't know what they were hoping for. Maybe another visit, maybe a clue, maybe just a second chance to feel whatever they felt that first time. But the song? It stayed just out of reach, like a name on the tip of your tongue, a tune stuck in your chest, but never making it to your lips. She had played only once, yet left behind a silence so full it echoed, and inside that silence, everyone felt something personal, something they didn't have words for. Only the absence remained. And in that absence, something beautiful waited just beyond memory. Whispers on social media. It didn't start big, just a short video, shaky, silent, only 20 seconds long, posted by a teenager who had been waiting for a delayed train. The title read, Weird Piano Lady Gave Me Chills. No sound, but still. Haunted, no hashtags, no clickbait, just a strange caption. I was there, and I can't stop thinking about it. The clip showed the woman at the piano, hands moving softly, even without sound. There was something about it, her stillness. The way her fingers glided across the keys, the way people around her seemed frozen in time. That video. It didn't need music to go viral. Within hours, people started sharing it. Not because it was flashy, but because it made them feel unsettled, not scared, just emotionally stirred. Comments started flooding in. Why do I feel like crying? I don't know what this is, but it hurts in a good way. This feels like something I forgot, but can't remember. People across the internet began to claim they were there that night. Some were honest, some just wanted attention. But their stories all had the same thread. No one could remember the melody, only how it made them feel. Soon, a Reddit thread popped up under the title, The Woman Who Played a Song That Erased Itself. It gathered thousands of upvotes in hours. Inside, people shared sketches, diary entries, dream fragments. One person wrote, I don't know what she played, but I woke up crying last night. I swear I heard it again in my sleep. A digital artist posted a painting of her, Even though he had never seen her in person, he said he dreamed about her face. Sitting in front of a piano inside a glass house, the painting looked nearly identical to the woman from the video. People were stunned. How could strangers who'd never met all imagine the same person? And then came the oddest part. Musicians from around the world began trying to recreate the melody. Using slowed-down analysis of her hand movements from the silent video, they watched her fingers frame by frame, mapping keys and timing, and yet every version they produced sounded cold, flat, wrong. Even the most talented composers said the same thing. It's not about the notes, it's what's missing that matters. One well-known violinist uploaded a version titled, "My Attempt," to rebuild the forgotten song, but before he played, he warned his audience, "This is the closest I could get, but I still feel like I'm chasing a ghost." The comments under his video were filled with disappointment, not in him, but in the emptiness. People wrote, "This isn't it. I can tell without ever hearing the real one. It's like the soul is missing." She didn't play music, she played memory. Something unusual began to happen next. People who hadn't been at the station said they still felt affected. Just by seeing the video, some claimed they had strange dreams afterward of rivers, old homes, unfamiliar sadness. A girl from Texas said she dreamed of holding a hand she'd never seen before and hearing music in the background she couldn't recreate when she woke up. "I didn't just hear it," she wrote, "I remembered it, even though I've never heard it before." What began as a single silent video had become something else entirely. Shared experience between strangers who couldn't explain what. They felt a community not of facts, but of feelings. It was no longer about proving the woman was real. It was about believing she had been there and wondering if she would return. People began gathering at that station regularly, just in case. Some brought cameras, others sketchbooks. Some just sat with their eyes closed, waiting for that invisible thread to pull again. The internet didn't forget her, even if no one could. Describe what she played, and perhaps that was the strangest part of all, that something with no sound could make so many people feel heard. The janitor's memory. For days, people kept coming to the train station. Some were curious, some just stood near the piano, as if hoping the memory of the music would return, but no one noticed the old janitor. He had worked at that station longer than most of the passengers had been alive. He cleaned the floors, emptied bins, swept up forgotten coffee cups, and quietly watched everything he had seen that piano get ignored for years. But when the mysterious woman played it, he had stood at a distance, mop in hand, and froze. It's not because of the music he couldn't hear it clearly from where he was, but because of her. It wasn't the first time he had seen that woman. That's what made his hands tremble as he leaned on the handle of his mop. That silver hair, that stillness, the way she sat. He remembered her from years ago. He didn't tell anyone at first. Who would believe a janitor's memory when even video proof couldn't hold the sound? But one morning, as more people arrived with notebooks and phones, it sat on a bench near the piano and finally spoke. "I saw her before," he said quietly to a young man recording a podcast. "Not just once either. She used to come late. At night, when the station was quiet. No crowd, no noise, just her and the piano." The podcaster leaned in, curious. "When was this?" "Years back," the janitor replied. "She never said her name. But I always knew when she was here because the station felt different. You'd walk in and everything would slow down. Even the air felt softer." He looked at the piano like it was a person. "She didn't play for attention," he said. "She played like she was trying to remember something important. Like she was searching through sound for something she had lost." The podcaster asked if he ever spoke to her. The janitor nodded slowly. "Only once. I asked her why she played when no one was listening, and what did she say?" The podcaster whispered, barely breathing. The janitor smiled gently. "She said, 'People don't need to hear it with their ears. They'll remember it when their heart is ready.' That line spread across social media like wildfire. They'll remember it when their heart is ready." It became a quote shared in art, in music posts, even tattooed on someone's wrist. People felt it meant something, though they couldn't say exactly what. The janitor also shared something no one else had: a drawing, old, folded, worn at the edges. He pulled it from his coat pocket and handed it to the podcaster. It was a pencil sketch of the piano, and the woman sitting at it. He had drawn it one night after watching her play for nearly an hour. There were no facial details, but the shape of her hands. The way her back curved slightly forward, it was unmistakably her. Others online confirmed. She looks exactly the same as in the video, someone commented. Even the coat matches. But that raised more questions than answers. If she had been coming for years, why did no one else remember? Why did no other recordings exist from before? And most haunting of all, why hadn't the janitor seen her again for so long? Until now. She stopped coming one winter. He said after that, the piano stayed quiet for a long time, then suddenly, last week. She returned, he paused, then added, but she didn't look older. The podcaster blinked. Unsure if he had misheard, she looked exactly the same as the last time. Same face, same coat, same eyes. The janitor said firmly, I think. She's not here to be seen. She's here to remind. That statement set off a fresh wave of theories. Some believed she was a ghost. Some said she was a memory made real. One popular theory claimed she was the embodiment of music itself appearing. Only to those ready to listen with more than ears. But through all the noise, the janitor's soft voice remained the most trusted. Not because he had all the answers, but because he didn't try to explain her away. He just remembered her, and somehow that made her feel more real than anything else. People began calling the old man the keeper of the piano. He didn't mind. He just went back to sweeping the station floors. But every evening, just before the last train left, he'd sit quietly by the piano, waiting, not for music, but for her. The elderly composer far from the station, in a quiet village by the sea. An elderly woman sat alone in her little music room. Her window overlooked gray waves. Her piano faced a wall covered in fading sheet music. She hadn't composed anything. In years her hands ached, her memory slipped sometimes. But she still listened to the wind, to silence, to the space between thoughts. One evening her granddaughter showed her the silent video that everyone was talking about. It was the same clip, no sound. Just the woman at the piano in the station. The older woman watched carefully, barely blinking. She leaned forward, studying the woman's hands, her posture, her pauses. Then, without a word, she pressed her own hands to her chest and whispered, "That's mine." Her granddaughter stared. "What do you mean?" The old woman didn't speak right away. She turned and looked at her piano. A soft, almost frightened breath left her lips. "I wrote that song almost 60 years ago," she said, "but I never played it for anyone, never even finished it." She stood up slowly, her legs unsteady. She walked to the piano, pulled out a drawer beneath it. Inside was an old folder, yellowed and fragile. She opened it and revealed a few pages of sheet music notes scattered like stars. Some lines missing, some smudged by time. "This was going to be my life's work," she said, "but I abandoned it." When asked why, she answered simply, "Because it hurt too much to finish, years ago." She had lost someone very close. The music had come from that grief. Each note felt like a goodbye. She couldn't speak aloud. She tried to complete it, but every time she reached the final verse, her hands would shake, so she put it away. And eventually forgot, but now, seeing the mysterious woman's hands, the way they moved, the silent grace, it was exactly how she once imagined the song would be played. She tried to sit and play it herself. Hands trembling, she began slowly reading from the old pages. Few notes came back soft, sad, full of aching, but she stopped halfway, tears running down her cheeks. "It's not mine anymore," she said. "Someone else is carrying it now." She believed the woman at the train station hadn't stolen the song. She had found it, from the quiet places where lost things go. From the emotions people bury, she had given it life again. Not through memory, but through feeling. The old woman wrote a letter that night. Not to the press, not to music schools, but to the woman in the video, though she didn't know where to send it. She simply placed it inside the piano, along with the old pages of music, and whispered, "Thank you." She never claimed credit publicly. She didn't want attention or praise, only peace. And for the first time in decades, she felt it. Something about knowing that someone, somewhere, played that melody she never dared finish. It healed. A part of her, she thought, was gone forever. She lit a candle beside the piano, not as a tribute, but as a sign that the song still lived, and that maybe the woman would play it again. A letter with no sender. The station had grown quiet again. Not because people stopped caring, but because nothing more had happened. No new music, no return of the woman, just a piano waiting patiently in silence. People still came, but only to sit, to wonder. Some left flowers, others left notes under the piano lid. Messages like, "Thank you for the feeling, come back soon, we haven't forgotten." Then, one morning, the station manager found something strange. A thick envelope resting on top of the piano, no stamp, no return address, no name, just 5 words. Handwritten on the front, for those who still remember. He opened it slowly, unsure what to expect. Inside were 2 things. A single sheet of handwritten music and a note written in faded black ink. There was no signature, but the writing was calm, steady, personal. It read, "This was not meant to be remembered in your minds, but carried in your hearts. When sound fades, the feeling remains. Let it live there." No one knew who had left it. Security footage showed. Nothing, no figure, no movement. One camera glitched during the night. Another simply went dark for 2 minutes. It was as if the letter had arrived by memory itself. The sheet music was unlike anything seen before. The notes were handwritten, delicate, almost hesitant. Some parts were clear, while others were smudged like someone had cried over the page, and in the top corner, in tiny faded letters, just one line. The unspoken goodbye. Musicians from across the city came to study the sheet. They scanned it, analyzed it, played it note for note, but something strange kept happening each time they played it. The music vanished from the recording afterward. Every video captured only silence, or static. And yet those who listened in the moment, they felt it. It wasn't just music, it was like stepping into a memory that wasn't yours. Some cried halfway through without knowing why. Others said they saw flashes of places they had never been, or people they didn't know. One violinist collapsed after playing it, whispering, "I saw my father's eyes, but I never met him." The mystery deepened. Who wrote this music? Was it the woman? Was it the old composer by the sea? Or was it something passed between them, like a whisper carried across time? The media tried to cover the story again, but the interviews always ended the same way. People couldn't explain what they heard. It's only how it made them feel. Eventually, a small group of listeners gathered at the station each evening. They didn't come to film or speak. They just sat in silence, hoping the woman would return, or maybe just to keep the piano company one evening. A young boy walked up to the piano. No one had noticed him before, quiet, holding a small sketch pad. He didn't say anything. He simply placed the letter back inside the piano, then sat down and drew the outline of a silver-haired woman at the keys. When asked how he knew what she looked like, he replied softly, "She played for my grandfather once. He said she helped him remember how to love."
Ow.
Then the boy stood and walked away, leaving behind a drawing so full of warmth that it looked almost alive, and inside the piano, the letter remained unread by most, but felt by many. It became known as the letter with no sender. A message from somewhere unseen. A reminder that some music isn't written to be heard, it's written to be felt. The final visit. A full year had passed since that quiet, rainy night. The night when the silver-haired woman first sat at the piano. By now, her story had drifted far beyond the station. People spoke of her in podcasts, short films, even whispered. Poems shared late at night, but still no one knew who she was or where she had gone. The station staff had long stopped expecting anything unusual. The world had moved on. Only a few faithful visitors still came, sitting near the piano without speaking. They didn't look for answers. They just waited. Then, on the same day, the same hour, she returned. No camera caught her walking in. No one saw where she came from. She was simply there, sitting at the piano, again as before. Same long coat, same silver hair, same quiet presence. This time, she looked up. Just briefly, meeting the eyes of a few who had waited all year. No words, just a soft look, like she remembered them. Then she began to play. The The sound was gentler than before, like a breeze brushing through old trees, not loud, not long, just a few notes, soft and trembling like a goodbye whispered into a dream. This wasn't a performance. It was something else. A final gift. A final echo. Everyone in the station froze. Travelers, workers, tourists, children. Even the announcement board flickered and went still. People stopped breathing for a moment. Afraid that even a cough might scare the music away, she didn't rush. Her fingers moved like they were remembering something for the last time. Some listeners cried silently. Others stood with hands to their hearts, as if something sacred was happening in front of them. And then just like that, she stopped. No dramatic finish, no bow, just one final note. Held until it dissolved into the silence, she turned to leave, but before walking away, she did something no one expected. She smiled, a soft, almost invisible smile, the kind you give when something finally feels complete. And then, with slow steps, she walked into the crowd. People moved without thinking, parting to let her pass. No one touched her, no one spoke. It was as if everyone knew this was her last visit. A child tried to follow, but when he turned the corner, she was gone. Not vanished, not hidden, just gone. After that, the piano remained, still beautiful, still silent. No one tried to play it that day. They just stood near it, as if trying to hold on to something they couldn't quite name. Later that night, someone noticed a single white feather. Lying on the bench, no one saw it fall. No one knew where it came from. But it stayed there for weeks, untouched, as if it too was part of her final song. People began calling that moment the return note, a phrase that meant more than just music. It meant closure, peace, a goodbye that didn't hurt, and even though she never came back again, no one felt abandoned. She had said everything she needed to without words, only with sound and silence. A melody remembered the station was never quite the same after that night. No more sightings, no more letters, no more silent miracles, but the feeling remained in the air. In the bench near the piano, in the way people walked slower when they passed by, the white feather stayed on the piano for weeks, till one morning it was gone. No one saw it taken, but no one was surprised either. It had served its purpose, just like the music had. Life moved on, the world kept spinning, and slowly, people stopped talking about the silver-haired woman, not because they forgot, but because they had started to carry her inside. Then one day, a small moment changed everything. A little girl, no older than 7, walked up to the piano with her father. She wore a bright blue coat and carried a small pink backpack. She didn't say anything, just looked at the piano like it was an old friend. Without hesitation, she climbed onto the bench. Her feet dangled high above the floor. She stretched out her tiny hands and touched the keys and played the melody, note for note, soft and pure. Exactly as it had been heard before, her father froze. People around the station stopped and turned. One by one, heads lifted, tears welled. Silence fell. It wasn't similar. It wasn't close. It was the song, the exact one, haunting, warm, bittersweet. The one no one could remember. The one no one could record. Now played by a child who had never seen the woman. Never heard the story. When she finished, she looked around at the stunned faces and said simply, "I heard it in a dream." She didn't know where the dream came from, didn't know the woman. But she said the music made her feel safe and sad at the same time. That single moment sparked something across the world. The girl played it again days later, this time recorded. And for the first time, the sound stayed. No glitches, no silence, just the pure, untouched melody flowing through speakers. From homes to hospitals, schools to cafes, people played it on repeat. Not because it was catchy, but because it made them feel something they didn't have words for. The song was titled The Unspoken Goodbye, though no one officially gave it that name. It just appeared that way in the video description, in playlists, in whispers. Musicians began covering it, not to improve it, but to pass it along. Each version a little different, some with strings, some with soft vocals, but the heart of it stayed. The same one music critic wrote, "This song isn't played, it's remembered." And maybe that was always the point. It was never about who played it first, or who the woman truly was. It was about the feeling she left behind. The little girl never claimed fame. She just played when she felt the dream return, and with every note, the silence between people grew smaller. Strangers shared headphones. Old friends reconnected without needing to explain why, a nurse said her patient, who hadn't spoken in months, cried the moment she heard it. A man in grief said, "This song doesn't fix the pain, but it lets me sit with it tanned, not be afraid." Years later, no one knew the woman's name. No photos, no records, just the music. Passed from heart to heart, and that was enough. Some believed she was real. Some said she was a dream shared by many. But for those who had heard the music and truly felt it, she never left. She simply became the space between the notes and the silence that somehow healed the end.